Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. So if you've been watching my videos, you know I have about 5,000 physical albums, vinyl and CDs. And I started collecting and officially started my database back in 1973. From the very beginning, I fell in love with live albums. I love live albums. And like I said, I got about 5,000 albums. I've got hundreds and hundreds of live albums, and I love most of them. So this was a tough video to do, but what I'm going to do is my top 16 favorite live albums. Why 16? Because I was looking through the database and picking out, these are the 16 that I definitely listen to the most. And that's how I came up with my favorite ones, because at the end of the day, it's what you listen to the most. And from beginning to end, these albums are really, really special to me. So without further ado, here's my top 16 favorite live albums of all time. Some of your favorites will not be here, but that doesn't mean I don't love them. They'll be in another video. I'm going to do a series of these, my favorite live albums, because they're so great and there's so many of them. Anyway, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please hit subscribe. It'll help my channel to grow. I don't have a lot of subscribers, so I would greatly appreciate it. Plus, if you like this video, maybe you'll check out some other videos and you'll get notified of new videos that hopefully you'll like. All right, enough of my yapping. Let's start with number 16 of my all-time favorite live albums. And that's going to be this one. This is the digitally remastered box set, The Concert for Bangladesh, George Harrison and Friends, which is exactly what this is. You know about the benefit concert. I don't have to go through the whole history at Madison Square Garden, but this is really a great live album. Listen, George Harrison sounds really good on it. He's not the most dynamic player live. He only did that 74 live tour plus the one in Japan with Clapton. But basically, you get a lot of the best of George Harrison here early in his career after All Things Must Pass. And they're great versions. He's got a killer band. But in addition to that, you get Ringo doing a fun version of It Don't Come Easy. I think he blows the lyrics on it, if I remember right. And, just some great Leon Russell's on here is great. And Dylan is fantastic, as you can see right there. It takes a lot to laugh, Train to Cry, Blown in the Wind, Mr. Tambourine, and Just Like a Woman's amazing. Something with Harrison comes back. This is just a great, great live album. The Concert for Bangladesh at number 16. And kind of running into that theme, like a multi-artist show, number 15 is going to be Woodstock. Woodstock, the original album especially, and this is the CD version of it, but it's just a great collection. It's a fun listen. Not only do you get great performances, and really I think the best performances by a lot of the major artists, that were at Woodstock. It cherry picks like one song or a couple of songs by each artist. But then you get, the talking in between and the rainstorm and don't take certain acid. It's just a really, really fun listen, and it's a great listen. The original soundtrack, which was a triple vinyl album of Woodstock, would be my number 15. Now, there's a lot of versions of Woodstock that's come out. Here's a box set. This was the 25th anniversary box set. Now there's a 40th, and then there's a 50th. And you can pretty much get, almost the whole show, the whole weekend on CD now. But to be honest with you, sometimes less is more. And I found the best listen for Woodstock to me is still that original soundtrack album. So number 15 would be Woodstock. At number 14 would be this one, Neil Young, Live Rust. This was kind of a special one for me because I went to that concert. And that was a great concert after the Comes a Time album, and he did the Live Rust tour and the Rust Never Sleeps tour. And then that was a great album, of course. And this is just a really great live album. It's a good movie. This is like the soundtrack to the movie, basically. But if you had seen that show, he opens up. He's laying on the amp, and he's covered up, and he comes out and he does acoustic version, Sugar Mountain, I Am a Child, Comes a Time, After the Gold Rush. And then he's got, that amazing rockin' band with Crazy Horse and blistering live versions of a lot of these great songs, When You Dance I Can Really Love, and Cinnamon Girl, and Like a Hurricane, and Hey, Hey, My, Powderfinger, Cortez the Killer. This is a killer live record. Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Live Rust, which for me is number 14. Number 13, this was my first Bob Marley album. Bob Marley and the Wailers Live. It's a single live album on, on vinyl. It was a single album. And it's one of those perfect albums. He's got other live records that I have, like Babylon by Bus and things like that. But those are longer, and this is just tight. This is 45 minutes of perfection, basically. And every song is great. No Woman, No Cry, one of my all-time favorite songs. There's the original version, live version of I Shot the Sheriff, later, covered by Clapton. This is just a phenomenal record, and this was digitally remastered. They threw in a bonus track of Kinky Reggae. But this, Bob Marley and the Wailers Live, certainly my favorite Bob Marley album, and that was my number 13 all-time favorite live record. Number 12, my sister had this on vinyl, and man, did I fall in love with this band because of this album. Renaissance Live at Carnegie Hall. This, and I have a sweet spot when rock and roll plays with a symphony orchestra. It doesn't always work, and so many bands have tried it. It doesn't get any better than this because Renaissance's music is just perfect for that. And Annie Haslam's operatic voice is just incredible. And what you get here from early in their career up through Scheherazade, you get like the best of their early career. Ocean, Gypsy, Can You Understand, Carpet of the Sun, Running Hard, Mother Russia. These are definitive live versions of those songs with an orchestra. And then the second album was only 2 songs. You had the Song for Scheherazade, which is a whole side, and Ashes of Burning, which is a whole side. And the Song for Scheherazade is just a miracle of music making, and it's better on this live album than even on the studio. How they reproduce that in full with the orchestra is mind-blowing. Renaissance, no electric guitar really, no electric lead guitar. You got Mickey Denford on acoustic and a lot of bass with John Camp, John Tatt on piano, and Terry Sullivan, and Andy Haslam's amazing vocals. If you like beautiful orchestral rock, progressive to a certain extent, Renaissance Live at Carnegie Hall doesn't get much better than this. That's at number 12. Number 11, one of my all-time favorite bands, was Diastrates, and I was into them when their first album came out, and then their second one, Communicate, was good, and the third one, Making Movies, was phenomenal. I think it's their best studio record. Then they released this live one called Alchemy, which actually I originally had also on VHS. So this is a really, really cool live album because it showed Dire Straits in a different way. This album is one of those rarities where it's live, warts and all. They proudly say there is no overdubs on this. This is live. And it's a very different sounding Dire Straits because you got a different band basically. And just a really rocking band. The drummer was Terry Williams, who used to play in Rockpile, who is like a rock and roll drummer, as opposed to Pick Withers, who is more of like a jazzy kind of a field drummer. So this is a really hard rocking Dire Straits, but they really expand on the songs. It's almost, they jam out. Once Upon a Time in the West goes on, and of course the classic Sultans of Swings is completely different. It's like a 10-minute jamming version, but you get things like Tunnel of Love and Telegraph Road. And on this version, you get the bonus track of Love Over Gold, which is just the title track, which is amazing. Romeo and Juliet. This is an amazing live album that Dire Straits in a different frame, a more rockin', very jammin', extended songs version of the band, and it's killer, and I love it. And you get the finale is Going Home, the theme from Local Hero, which is mind-blowingly great. So, for me, at number 11 of all time, Dire Straits and Alchemy. Now, at number 10 is a tough one for me. So, I'm kind of cheating on this one. But, if you've watched my other videos, one of my all-time favorite bands is Wishbone Ash. Now, I gotta say number 10 would be Wishbone Ash's first live record called Live Dates. Why? Because I got it, was the third Wishbone Ash album that I ever bought, and really blew me away, and then I became a Wishbone Ash fanatic. And this is on the original vinyl. Those 70s vinyl albums, they came with like booklets, and, it's nice, So this is from the original vinyl album of Live Dates. And I got tons of versions of it. Here's a version of it on double album on one CD, and here's another CD version of it with the gatefold reproduction. Great track listing, but this is comprised of their first 4 studio records, and they released a live album. And a lot of bands went on to copy that later on in, Kiss or whatever, but this was being done long before that. And this is a great selection of tracks from Argus and Wishbone 4 and, Pilgrimage and their first album. It's a terrific live album, and just made me fall in love with the band. But later on in their career, in America only, they released this thing called Hot Ash Live. And this is kind of like a bastardized version of Live Dates 2. This album, I played possibly more than any Wishbone Ash album. Just a killer live record, unfortunately never released on CD. I guess they felt because it's similar to Live Dates 2. Which brings me to Live Dates 2, which would probably be, this is a British version of it on vinyl, single album version. And then this is a digitally remastered version on CD. So I'm cheating because if I had to pick, if you don't know Wishbone Ash and you're going to pick up one live record, I'd probably tell you to get Live Dates 2, this one, which is from their Mach 2 lineup. This is a phenomenal album. It got great track listing from the second lineup of the band. But Live Dates was the album that really, at the beginning, for me, when I got into Wishbone Ash. So I guess I would say, for me, at number 10, it would be Wishbone Ash, Live Dates. But it would be kind of tied with Live Dates 2 and Hot Ash. I know I'm cheating, but what can I tell you? All right, let's keep going. At number 9 would be this. And that is The Last Waltz by the band. Possibly the greatest concert movie. Martin Scorsese made the movie. This is the Laserdisc version of it. I have it on DVD. And this is just an amazing concert. If you've never seen the movie, you got to, because the music is just extraordinary, but it's just a great movie. Cuts it with interviews. It's just great. This is the digitally remastered mini box set of The Last Waltz, and that's the track listing. And why this album is so amazing is, well, hopefully I don't have to sell you on how great the band is. I mean, you got to be great if you just call yourself the band. And this is just an amazing document because you basically get the best of the band to a certain extent, and the performances are extraordinary. But then you get their special guests like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and Van Morrison and Eric Clapton, and of course Bob Dylan comes out for a set at the end. And then there's Dr. John and even Neil Diamond, who I'm not a fan of. And the band backs everybody. And they're just such an amazing band. Why they call the band? They switch off on instruments, and Robbie Robertson they do Further On Up the Road, Eric Clapton and the band. And Robbie Robertson and Eric Clapton are dueling on lead guitar, and they're cutting each other. It's just amazing. Just fantastic performances, possibly the best performances, I think, of the band of any album. So you kind of get the best of the band. You get great performances by all these other acts. And then at the end, what was the last final side, you get a couple of new tracks as well. And then they released a deluxe box set, 4 CD set of The Last Waltz, which even has double the length of additional performances not originally on the album, especially Kidding Driftwood, one of the greatest band songs. So you can't go wrong with the box set either, but if you've never heard it, you got to listen to the original version of The Last Waltz. My number 9 all-time favorite album. Number 8. Well, we're going to go with this one. Here's the original vinyl, first pressing. I got it when it came out. There's the hype sticker of Wings Over America. I unfortunately didn't see this tour, but I couldn't. My sister did, and I couldn't wait for this live album to come out. I could still remember smelling it when it came. And it came with a poster, which is in here. Here's the poster. But you can't really see. A big fold-out poster that's got pinholes because I used to have it hanging in my room. And the cool thing about this album, although it wasn't unique at the time, but most bands, when they would release a live album, would be a single album or even a double album. But here, McCartney did a triple album, and it's the whole show. At that time, that was pretty unique. I mean, ELP did it with Welcome Back My Friends. Yes did it with Yes Songs, which we'll talk about. But you didn't see that too often. And this is my favorite McCartney album to this day. I mean, because you get the best of Wings up until that point, you know, after Venus and Mars, and you get some great acoustic stuff. He does a whole acoustic side, Picasso's Last Words, Richard Corey, Bluebird, I've Just Seen a Face, Blackbird yesterday. It's a whole vinyl side. It's killer. And the great thing for me is he doesn't do too much Beatles stuff. So, you know, I know everybody loves to see McCartney do the Beatles, but I don't, you know. It's like, I like his solo stuff and throw in a couple of Beatles, which is what he did here. He had a killer band, too, back then. He's got a killer band now, too. But, you know, listen to, like, Beware My Love, Time to Hide, which Denny Layden sings lead. This is an amazing, amazing live album. So, Wings Over America, here it is, digitally remastered on CD. Little gatefold packaging. That's going to be at number 8. Number 7, one of my all-time favorite bands. I did a video, My Love Affair and Hate Affair with Genesis. I am a huge, huge Genesis fan from their beginning of their career through maybe up to Duke. But after that, I have all their albums, but it's just a different thing for me. But I loved this live album. Now, I love the original Genesis live album too, but when they came out with Seconds Out, I couldn't wait. I thought A Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering was as good as any Genesis albums ever. I still feel that way. I love those albums. And here was the live album from that tour. And this is the digitally remastered CD, which is a beautiful package, which comes with the CDs and 2 CDs, and it comes with a DVD so I could play it in 5.1 sound, which is killer. But the set list is amazing. Phil Collins, of course, is doing lead vocals, and it's great. You got Squonk. He does a great Carpet Crawlers, Robbery, Assault, and Battery. So you're doing the Trick of the Tail stuff. You're doing Wind and Wuthering stuff, Afterglow. Firth of Frith is incredible. You get the Lamb, which goes into the closing section, and a musical box, which is, you know, spine-chillingly great. Supper's Ready is fantastic. Phil does a great job. The Cinema Show is a personal favorite. Dance on a Volcano into Los Endos. Oh, my God. Just amazing. This is a phenomenal live record. Certainly my favorite Genesis live album. And one of my favorite live albums of all time. I put that at number 7. Number 6, David Bowie. Now, this album, I've talked about that in one of my other videos. This album was kind of controversial when it came out. It did not get great reviews. But my favorite, or my go-to Bowie album, I should say, is Diamond Dogs. And this was from the Diamond Dogs tour. And this was the first Bowie album I ever bought with my own money. It came out in '74. I was 11 years old. And it's got a killer set list. And I think this band is amazing. Mike Garson is all over it with piano. And he never left Bowie's side throughout the rest of Bowie's career, and he just adds so much musically. Earl Slick is an amazing lead guitarist. He is shredding all over this record. The album originally didn't get great reviews because, you know, he changes the arrangements on a lot of these songs, but they're great. They're just great. And listen to the live, you know, like the guitar soloing on this album on Width of a Circle is ridiculous. It's incredible. And this is a really excellent live version to get because it was digitally remastered and they threw extra songs on there. And this version has Panic in Detroit, which was only originally a B-side of a single. And it's an amazing live version of that track. So this is the one to get, the deluxe version of David Live, David Bowie, recorded in '74, and that's my number 6 choice. At number 5 here's a triple album from Yes. This is a first generation. I've showed this in other videos. Here's a first pressing, and back in the day when album artwork was just incredible. This thing just opens up a million different ways. And what you got here is a triple vinyl record of Yes, right after, in between Bill Bruford leaving and Alan White becoming the drummer. And you basically have a best of Yes from the Yes album, Close to the Edge and Fragile, which is phenomenal. And you get a couple of extra things in there, like the Rick Wakeman excerpts from Six Wives of Henry VIII, which is fantastic. So this, if you don't know early Yes, this is all you really need. And the performances are great. And Alan White is a rock and roll drummer versus like Bill Bruford, who's a much tastier kind of a percussionist. But it works really well. Alan White just put a fire under this band. And here's the original version. Came with a booklet, kind of like McCartney's. You know, these big live albums sometimes would have booklets in them. And but Yes songs, still one of my go-to albums. I still play Yes songs when I feel like listening to the classic Yes. And so there you go. Yes songs at number 5. Number 4, well, this was a special one for me. Of course, again, I was lucky enough to be at this show. And it is Simon & Garfunkel, the concert in Central Park. I originally saw the video of it after I saw the actual concert, but then much later they produced a film of it, and it was on HBO. And then I was lucky enough to buy this Laserdisc and can completely relive the show. But the CD and the double vinyl album, which I have, is just phenomenal. I mean, Simon and Garfunkel's amazing. Paul Simon's amazing. But in a sense, what you have here is like a best of. It's Paul Simon and Simon and Garfunkel. And you got Garfunkel singing on some of the Paul Simon solo stuff. And the band is fantastic. And the set list is just amazing. And you just get chills listening to this. So it's funny. When I listen to Simon and Garfunkel, this is still like the go-to album I go to, even though I have all of their albums. So Simon and Garfunkel, the concert in Central Park. Later on, Paul Simon did his own concert in Central Park, but I don't think it's anywhere comparable to the greatness of this one. So there you go. At number 4, Simon and Garfunkel, the concert in Central Park. All the ones that I did right now are kind of interchangeable. I mean, it's pretty much in the order. But the top 3 for me never change. They are just in a class by themselves. So here we go, the top 3 of my all-time favorite live albums. At number 3, The Who, Live at Leeds. Here's the original vinyl. And it was made to look like a bootleg, and the original vinyl came with all of these paraphernalia and press releases, and there's a poster in here and all these goodies. I know you can't really see, but it's really all about the music. This was the original CD. Then I got the original CD, the original album on CD as well. The original CD was interesting because it only had 6 songs on there, and side 2 was just Magic Bus and like a 14-minute version of My Generation. So it's my 3rd favorite live album of all time, but you know, some people think it's the greatest live album ever made. And the reason why I dock it a little bit is because side 2, be completely honest, as great as Magic Bus is, and My Generation is great, and the telepathy of the band jamming together, but you got to be kind of in the mood to listen to a 14-minute version of My Generation, and they throw back in bits and pieces of Tommy. But the cool thing about Live at Leeds is The Who's amazing back then because all their albums was so different. You know, Live at Leeds came out after Tommy, which is like this symphonic masterpiece. You know, Live at Leeds is like a heavy metal, a hard rock album back in 1970. Then after that they did, you know, Who's Next and then Quadrophenia. All those original Who albums are very different. It's almost like a different band. And Live at Leeds is so different from what it came before it. It doesn't sound anything like Tommy or, you know, the Who Sell Out. This is a blistering hard rock band, and it's a monster performance. Oh, my God. So Live at Leeds is my number 3. Now, there's so many versions of this. This would be my favorite version. This was a deluxe edition, remastered, and they threw in a bunch of extra tracks like Heaven and Hell, the Entwistle track, Fortune Teller, Tattoo's great, Happy Jack, I'm a Boy, a quick one. a bit of Tommy right there. None of that stuff was on the original album. So, and you get to hear Townsend speak to the audience, which is always fun. That's not enough. Then they released another deluxe edition of Live at Leeds with all the stuff that's on that other one, but they threw in a whole disc of them performing Tommy live, which is great, but I don't need it because how many versions of Tommy do you need to hear? So to me, if you never heard Live at Leeds, I would go with this version because it's got the extra tracks and they're really, really good. But The Who Live at Leeds, my all-time number 3. My all-time number 2, well, that's going to be the Rolling Stones and their first live, well, it's their second live album, recorded live in 1969 from Madison Square Garden. Get Your Yayas Out, the Rolling Stones in concert. This is an original first pressing of the album. And then they did a digitally remastered version of it on CD. And then there's this deluxe box set version, which you really don't need. They kind of milked it, I think. Another disc only has 5 songs on it. And then another disc with the opening bands set, which is fun. It's Ike and Tina Turner and B.B. King, which is great. But what really makes this album so special is the Stones' performance. It's Mick Taylor, the Stones at their best live. And I'm going to talk about the number 1 album shortly. What makes this album special is that I think a lot of the versions here are the definitive versions of these songs. It opens up that great introduction. We're sorry for the delay, the Rolling Stones. A killer version of Jumpin' Jack Flash, amazing version of Carol. Straight Cat Blues I prefer on this album than on Beggar's Banquet. Love in Vain, far superior on this album than on Let It Bleed. Midnight Rambler is so superior on this album that on Hot Rocks they put the live version. In fact, I can't even listen to the studio version of Midnight Rambler after you hear this live version. Sympathy for the Devil, very different than the studio recording, but it's great. Live With Me, I prefer this version than the studio version on Let It Bleed. Little Queenie's fun. And then Honky Tonk Woman and Street Fighting Man I prefer live than the acoustic version from Beggar's Banquet. So a lot of the definitive versions of these songs for me come from this album. It's a great recording, the great audience reaction. You really hear Jagger interacting with the band. He talks. I think I busted a button on my trousers. Hope they don't fall down. Well, you don't want my trousers to fall down now, do you? Charlie's good tonight, ain't he? And then they do Honky Tonk Woman. We're going to do one more and then we're going to go. And they blitz into Street Fighter Man. You feel like you're at that Stones concert at Madison Square Garden in 1969. And that's what you want from a great live album. Which brings me to the number 1 live album of all time for me. And I've already done a separate video, Why Frampton Comes Alive is the greatest live album of all time. So I don't want to get into it too much. But check that video out. Because number 1, the greatest live album of all time, and my favorite live album of all time is Frampton Comes Alive. Again, I don't want to get into too much. But basically, it's got an amazing set list. They reconfigured it, from the actual show. The live album works better. You feel like you're at this concert. You hear the interaction. A killer band. This album is live. You hear fireworks going off. He's got an acoustic side. He talks to the audience. It's just phenomenal. I've gone through so many copies of this album. I had to buy it a second time on vinyl because I played it so much. I scratched the shit out of it. And here's a digitally mastered version, and I have the deluxe edition where they reconfigured it, but it's not as good. This is the version you want to get. Frampton Comes Alive, my number 1 all-time favorite live album. And if you check out one of my other videos, I really go into it. The greatest live album ever made. So anyway, there you go. My 16 all-time favorite live albums. Now you're probably sitting there going, what are you talking about, man? Where's Deep Purple, Made in Japan? Where's the Allman Brothers at the Fillmore East? Where's the Grateful Dead? And I love the Grateful Dead. Where's UFO? Where's Thin Lizzy? Where's the Good Rats? Where's Leonard Skinner? Well, we'll have to get into those on my next live album video when I get to that. But here's my top 16. Again, in order, let me see. We got Bangladesh at 16, Woodstock at 15, Neil Young's Live Rust at 14, Bob Marley and the Wailers Live at 13, Renaissance Live at Carnegie Hall 12, Dire Straits, Alchemy at 11, Wishbone Ash Live Dates and Live Dates 2 at 10. The band's Last Waltz at 9. Wings Over America at 8. At 7, Genesis Seconds Out. At 6, David Live. David Bowie. Number 5, Yes Songs. Number 4, Simon and Garfunkel Live in Central Park. The Who Live at Leeds at 3. The Stones Get Your Eyes Out at 2. and number 1, Frampton Comes Alive. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit subscribe, by the way, and check out my other videos. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great night.